Hey everybody, it's Mrs. Langham. I am so glad that you could meet with me today virtually to talk about grammar. This is going to be a really fun day. So let me get ready here. Today we're going to be talking about possessives. So if you remember during our time in the classroom, we actually already talked about possessives. So should be review for you. So remember, there's lots of different ways to show ownership because that's exactly what a possessive does. It shows ownership. So you can have a possessive pronoun, which takes the place of a possessive noun. You can have a possessive noun. Remember, those are the ones with the apostrophe S. Or you can even have a prepositional phrase that shows ownership. But today we're going to be talking about possessive pronouns and possessive nouns. Okay, so let's look at this sentence right here. Let me find a good color. We'll do black for our sentence and then color for our different other things. So let's look at this sentence. My dog eats bones. Sorry, some of that's in cursive and some of it's in print. Okay, my dog eats bones. Can anyone tell me what the subject of that sentence is? You're right, dog. Can anyone tell me what the verb in that sentence is? You're right, eats. And if you'll remember with me, the type of verb this is a transitive verb. We know that it's a transitive verb because it's answering the question who or what. Dog eats what? Dog eats bones. So bones is a plural direct object. So whose dog is this? The answer to that is my. So my is the possessive in this sentence. Possessive, because it's saying who the dog belongs to. Now, in this particular scenario, we have no idea who my is other than it is my personal, and we can assume that that's the person speaking. So remember that in conversation, we often don't have set antecedents. Remember, an antecedent is a word that actually relates to that possessive. It tells you whose it is, and it relates to the pronoun and tells you who he is, who is it, who is she, those different kinds of things. So let's look at another couple of sentences. So if I erase all of this, oh, that's not it, eraser. There we go. Let's try another couple of sentences, okay? Sorry for the screen shaking there, I apologize. All right, let's say this. Let's say Jethro, because that's the name of my dog. Oh, why won't it let me? Oh, I didn't push the draw button. Jethro loves to bark. Jethro's bark is loud. He defends his yard. Okay, sorry about all the crazy slants here. All right, so let's read these three sentences and let's identify some of the different parts of speech. So if we come over here to our handy dandy color, we're going to choose blue for this. So let's look at this very first sentence. This right here is going to be sentence number 1, sentence number 2, sentence number 3. Okay, in these sentences, what's the subject? This one's going to be Jethro. What does Jethro do? He loves. Okay, now Jethro loves what? Remember, a direct object can only really be one word at a time. And this right here, to bark, that's all one thing. That's a phrase. And if you'll remember, to is actually a preposition. Remember our preposition song? And so to is the preposition. And remember, every preposition has to have a pop. Remember, a preposition has an object of the preposition. So bark in this case is actually a pop. So if you remember back to all of our talking about grammar, you'll remember that a verb, an action verb that does not have a direct object is actually called an indirect object, right here, I-N-V. Okay, let's look at the next sentence. Oh, but before we go on to the next sentence, were there any possessives in this sentence? No, Jethro's not owning anything. Okay, let's go to the next one. Number 2, Jethro's bark is loud. Okay, we have to identify the subject. Remember, the subject is a noun. The subject will never not be a noun. It might be a pronoun, but a pronoun still has the word noun in it, okay? Use the noggin. All right, so in this sentence, bark is going to be our subject, is going to be our verb. Now remember, when we talked about linking verbs connect two different types of verbs together. Two different types of verbs, two different parts of a sentence together. So in this case, is linking bark to loud. What is loud? Bark is loud. So this is called a predicate, either adjective or noun, and we know that loud is an adjective. So what type of verb links or connects two words together? You're right, it's a linking verb. Okay, so bark is loud. That's the main part that we need to know. But whose bark was loud? Jethro's. So Jethro is considered the possessive. Now Jethro is not a possessive pronoun because the word Jethro is a complete noun. It doesn't need anybody else to refer back to. Okay, he defends his yard. All right, let's look at this sentence. What is the subject? The subject happens to be he. Now, he is special because he is a pronoun. It takes the place of a noun. Now, we could write like a kindergartner, right? Because in kindergarten, we learn to repeat our nouns. We could say Jethro loves to bark. Jethro's bark is loud. Jethro defends Jethro's yard. But that gets a little bit repetitive. So when we have sentences like this that come in order, or when we have a sentence that's long enough to actually specify, we can use these pronouns without confusing anyone, and we know exactly who is doing what. So when we say he, who is he? He is actually Jethro, and we know this because of the context of this sentence. So he is a pronoun, and the antecedent is Jethro. Okay, when we say that word, sometimes that can be a little bit confusing because people are like, I don't remember what the antecedent is. We've never learned the antecedent. But yes, you have the antecedent. Okay, it's who he is. All right, now back to our sentence. Number 3, he defends his yard. What is he defending? Yard. Okay, so we can answer the question who or what. So we know that yard is our direct object. Now, he, what is the action he is doing? He is defending, so he defends. So this is our verb. Because we can answer that question who or what, we know that it's transitive. And now we're going to look, are there any modifiers in this sentence? Yes, there are. His. His is a possessive, but because it's showing ownership, remember on the diagram, it's actually going to look like an adjective. That's why we call them possessive adjectives. Pretty cool. Okay, so his is, we're going to call it a possessive just for our purposes. And we know whose yard is it? It's his yard. All right, when we go to diagram a sentence like this, let's see if I can add, oh, I can add a new page. Okay, so cool. I don't know how I go back to my other page. Aha! I'm liking this program. Super cool. All right, so let's diagram Jethro loves to bark. Okay, here we go. So we're going to draw our nice little happy diagram. Like that. And we're going to separate the subject from the predicate with a line that goes straight like this. Now we know that the subject always goes on this side 100% of the time. We know that the predicate, which is the verb and everything after the verb, always comes on this side. Predicate. I'm not going to spell the whole word. Okay. All right. Predicate. So the subject and the predicate side. Now we don't actually write those words when we are diagramming, but I want you to have in your mind that knowledge. Okay. So let's come back to our diagram. Since the subject always goes over here on the left, let's put our subject, which happens to be Jethro. Okay. So what does Jethro like to do? He loves. So if I can figure out how to go away, stop it. My button is frozen. I don't know why. Okay. Jethro, what does he like to do? He loves. This is our verb. Okay. Now, because the prepositional phrase is coming in the predicate, where do you think we should put it in our diagram? On the predicate side or on the subject side? You're right, the predicate. Okay, loves to bark. Okay, now remember, prepositional phrases always go in the slanted line coming down. So when we write it, we're going to say to bark, just like that. Really plain and simple, and you're completely done with that sentence. Let's go to the next sentence. I already forgot what the next sentence was. Jethro's bark is loud. Okay, Jethro's bark is loud. So again, we have to separate the subject from the predicate. We know that the subject is going to go on this side. We know the predicate is going to go on this side, okay? So Jethro's bark is loud. We know from what we have said that bark is the subject. And we know from what we did earlier that is the linking verb. Is. Okay, what is describing bark? We have to go back and look at that. Whose bark is it? It's Jethro's bark. So we need to add Jethro in the subject side because Jethro is modifying the subject. Jethro's bark. All right, now, is what? Is loud. Remember, to show that something is a predicate adjective or a predicate noun, you slant the line. All right, you are almost a professional. All right, let's go to the very, very last one, if I can remember what that subject is. He defends his yard. Okay, here we go. Again, we start off with our handy dandy subject and predicate. Okay, now we're using pronouns. Does that change where they belong on the diagram? Absolutely not. He is still the subject, and what does he do? He defends. Okay, what is he defending? He's defending the yard. Oop, that shouldn't have been in black, it's in red. Okay, he defends what? He defends yard. Okay, whose yard is it? It's his yard. He defends his yard. And I think that was the complete sentence. Am I right? Did I remember it correctly? He defends his yard. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed learning about all this today. I hope that you can see that grammar is really, really fun. So remember to take away from all of this, a possessive is a word that shows ownership. When we are going to make something possessive, we're going to make it show ownership. When this is with a regular noun, we're going to add an apostrophe. So if we're looking at this word right here, let's do cat. Okay, how do we make sure that one cat is owning something? We're going to put an apostrophe at S, right? That's only one cat owning something. Don't judge. Yes, I know my cat looks deformed. I'm sure you're thinking the exact same. Cats, one cat, one. One cat is owning something. What if we need to say that more than one cat is owning something? Then the apostrophe is going to go on the other side of the S. Now, if I was really, really cool, I would draw you a whole army of cats. But we all know that drawing, obviously, is not my strong suit, okay? More than one is owning something, okay? All right, what if you need to make an irregular noun possessive? Okay, let's take the word men or man if you're doing the singular. Let's use a different color. Let's use purple. Okay, one man is owning something. How are you going to say that? The man's coat was blah, 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 blah. Okay, this word man's is only one man. What if you want to say the men's coats were? Men is more than one man. Where do you put the apostrophe S? Right after it. Oop, coats. Need to make it plural. Okay, so there's lots of different ways. The main thing you need to remember is that possessives show ownership. So no matter what you're doing, just remember that. Whether it is a pronoun or it's going to be a regular noun, doesn't matter. Possessives show ownership. And if you're going to use a pronoun, you need to make sure that there is a very clear antecedent, that everyone knows exactly who you're talking about without question. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. I really enjoyed hanging out with you. Thanks so much for talking about possessives today. I love y'all, and I can't wait to be back in the classroom with you. Bye.